You may have heard of Lumi Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. But did you know they just dropped their first whole body deo spray? It's the same outrageous 72-hour control that's earned them 300,000 five-star reviews, but in a brand new, easy to apply spray. Here's three more super cool things about it. Like all of Lumi's best-selling deos, the spray is powered by innovative pH-optimized technology that stops odor before it starts, rather than simply covering odor up with fragrance. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. Use code RATCHET15 for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code RATCHET15 at LumiDeodorant.com.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor, you can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those like lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable. I'm still in Maryland. I'm getting on a plane in a few days. I am headed to South Africa. I'm really getting on a plane this time. I know no one believes me. I've changed my flight 3 times, 4 times. It's fine. I don't need you to believe me. I will post a photo from the airplane when I'm about to take off. I'm really leaving this time. Like I started packing. The previous times I never started packing. Like I was ordering a bunch of stuff. I was getting stuff together, but like I didn't actually pack. And I have like a list. I got to go to the grocery store. I got to get like my Old Bay. I got to get my white Tonys. Because last time I was there, I left it with my homegirl because she was like, we could use this for a braai. That's what they call a barbecue over there. They barbecue like constantly. Like it's like a way of life. I mean, they're Black people. It should explain everything. So like I got to go to the store and get my final things. I have my last Amazon order coming. I'm really, really leaving this time. The thing is, if I'm being very, very honest, I don't want to go. Like, I do want to go because I love Cape Town and the weather here is absolutely miserable. I feel like we're living in Seattle. I haven't seen the sun in 3 days. It's very depressing. All I want to do is lay in the bed. The point is, like, I really like being home. It's nice. I mean, and not even just like, living in the guest bedroom. I mean, literally like being in, DC and Maryland. I haven't been home for more than, like a month in 2 years? It's good. But I'm getting on the plane. I don't know how long I'll actually be gone. I have a return ticket to America in December. We'll see if I come back sooner or stay later. Yeah. Can I tell you a story? So maybe 2 years ago, there was this show called Bigger on BET Plus, and Will Packer was the producer of the show. I had a friend that worked in communications at BET, Chloe. We used to work together at Essence. Reached out to Chloe and was like, hey, can you get me an interview with Will Packer? Because like I'm obsessed with this show and like I need somebody to gush with about it. And who better than, the producer? So she was like, yeah, I got you. So Will Packer comes on the pod to talk about his new show. We're having a great conversation about everything from like his business setup to his approach to show ideas and his access in Hollywood. Like, it was a really great conversation. All my old episodes are still on whatever platform that you're listening to this episode on. All the old episodes are there. So Will Packer's episode should be there. So he says something that veers into politics. The specifics of it aren't important to the story. So I asked him a follow-up question about something else political that's been in the news. And he pauses for a second and he says, and I'm paraphrasing, I didn't go back and listen to the old episode, and I actually might have taken it out. I'll explain why. He says, Demetria, I'm really not up to speed on that. I don't think I should have an opinion on it yet. And I said, okay, cool. And I actually felt bad for asking him the question because I didn't want him to feel like I was trying to get him in a gotcha moment or something, like catch him off guard, because I invited him on the show to talk about things that he knows, like the work that he produces, the companies that he's built, being, a Black man in Hollywood. So I felt a little bad for kind of asking him a question that was totally out of his knowledge base, I guess. I think I removed the question and his response from the episode because it wasn't really necessary to what we were talking about. But then I remember going back when I was doing editing, I replayed a couple times what he said. I was like, you know what? I really wish more people who didn't know what they were talking about would just say, you know what? I'm not well versed in that. I really shouldn't have an opinion. I respect that so much more than you not knowing something and trying to sound like you do and just sounding dumb as fuck. Which leads us into our conversation about Madame Janet Jackson. I love Janet. I don't participate in Janet Jackson slander. I've seen a lot of slander on the internet this week. People are pissed at her. I understand it. I just won't participate in it because she's MF Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson did an interview with The Guardian. She is in the middle of the second leg of her world tour. The Guardian caught up with her in London and they wrote this piece on her that, I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Off the top of my head, I would say it's probably around 3,000 words. It's a proper feature and it goes on and on and on. And it's a complete retrospective, if you will, of Janet Jackson's life. They talk about all the highs, like, I don't know, there's hundreds of millions of albums sold. And then the lows, which is, obviously the Super Bowl and the fallout after that. This isn't the headline. This is the deck, the summary, and says, after 5 years in the public eye, 3 marriages, and the wardrobe malfunction that torpedoed her career, the pop megastar is back. She opens up about family fame and her fears of mayhem after the U.S. election. It's an interesting article. I don't think any American who wrote this would ever take this point of view on Janet. But obviously, this isn't an American publication. Like, different cultures have different perspectives. One of the themes that sort of runs through this article is how Janet Jackson never really blew as a superstar, which I was like, I'm sorry, what? Because there's a point in the article where they mention, Janet Jackson was signed to the biggest record deal of all time, even greater than her brother. And then also in the article, they talk about how she was always eclipsed by Michael's fame. And then, how the Super Bowl just, completely derailed her potential of being this iconic pop star. And I was like, what? Because she was an iconic pop star before the Super Bowl, which is how she ended up doing the Super Bowl. But they don't have the same connection to the Super Bowl that we do. Like, it's just a sport that nobody else in the world really watches like that. They all watching soccer. Perspective. Out of this long, long, long article, there is this throwaway question about Rhythm Nation. And the interviewer asked her, I still can't believe she said this shit. The interviewer asked her, one of the lyrics in Rhythm Nation is, joining voices in protest to social injustice, and also pushing toward a world rid of color lines. The interviewer ponders, I wonder where she stands on the forthcoming election. Our election, not their election. Interviewer says, after all, I say America could be on the verge of voting in its first Black female president, Kamala Harris. To which Janet responds, well, you know what they supposedly said. She's not Black. That's what I heard, that she's Indian. Ma'am, where did you hear this? What content are you consuming? Is Janet sitting over in London with satellite TV watching Fox News? Does she have her Express VPN on and she's watching Fox News on the internet? Where did you get this from? So if you remember from NABJ, Trump openly questions whether Kamala is Black or Indian. He says she turned Black, but he's always known her to be Indian, which is quickly, expediently debunked by all reasonable and thinking people online and also in the media. Everyone's like, wait, what? And many people point out, as I'm going to right now, her mother is Indian. That's her ethnicity. Her father is Jamaican. That's his ethnicity. But his race is also Black. He could very well be a Chinese Jamaican, because there are those. He could be a white Jamaican. Jamaica was colonized for a very long time. There is a white population there. It could be a white Jamaican. But we've seen pictures of this man. He's clearly Black. So yes, he is Jamaican. His race is Black. He is not a Black American, but he is Black nevertheless. He is a part of the African diaspora. The slave ship that came from wherever in Africa they picked his people up, they swung by Jamaica first and dropped off the Africans on the ship. That's how all the Black people got to Jamaica. But he Black. Kamala Harris over and over and over has explained, I am Black. She's also said, I am Indian, because she is both, because one of her parents was one, the other parent was the other. That's kind of how this whole biracial thing works. I feel like Janet would know this. This isn't slander. This is fact. She has a child with a man who is not Black. She Black. Her child's father, her ex-husband, is not Black. You should understand biracial identity because you got a biracial baby that looks white, but that's a whole separate story. That's not the point. The point is, Michael got kids. We still don't really know what's going on with them kids. Michael's kids, they call them biracial, but them children are white. There's no way you get Michael Jackson nostrils, Jackson 5 afro, and then end up with children that look like the children he says are biologically his. Blood is not what makes you family. Family is what makes you family. That's fine. I'm not arguing in any way that those are not his kids. I'm just saying, while we talk about identities and race and such in the Jackson family, ma'am, you should understand this better than most. And somehow you don't understand it at all. So the interviewer tries to help her out. The interviewer says, Janet looks at me expectantly, perhaps assuming that I have Indian heritage. The interviewer says to Jackson, tries to help her out, corrects her, and says, well, speaking of Kamala Harris, says, well, she's both. To which Janet responds, her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. She coughs. She's sick at the interview. She continues, I was told that they discovered her father was white. Who said her father was white? We've never heard anything about her father being white. You could take a look at the man's picture and see he ain't white. He darker than me and his hair stands up like mine. Go look at a picture of him from the 80s. His hair is softened a little bit now because he's an older gentleman. He has gray hair. But go look at a picture of him at the 80s. That hair and hairline was standing up like George Jefferson. That's a Black man. I don't even understand how this is in dispute. He may not be American Black. He might be Jamaican Black, but he's sure as hell Black, and he sure as hell ain't white. There is no one looking at Kamala Harris's father and thinking he looks like her husband. Are you interested in the struggles our children face in the classroom? Teach the Babies with Dr. David Johns has lively conversations about the development and protection of our most precious resource, our babies. In each episode, my good friend, Dr. David Johns, talks to incredible educators and leaders as they grapple with questions about the future of education and its impacts on our own children. This week's episode is with Professor John Diamond. Are you familiar with Dr. John B. Diamond? He once walked out of fourth grade in protest against white supremacy and racism. He's that guy. This is a can't-miss deep dive into one of the most important issues facing our country, teaching our babies. Like, subscribe, share, and most importantly, listen as David Johns and his guests explore these questions with you. Find Teach the Babies wherever you listen to podcasts. You may have heard of Lumi whole body deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. But did you know they just dropped their first whole body deo spray? It's the same outrageous 72-hour control that's earned them 300,000 five-star reviews, but in a brand new, easy-to-apply spray. Here's 3 more super cool things about it. Like all of Lumi's best-selling deos, the spray is powered by innovative pH-optimized technology that stops odor before it starts, rather than simply covering odor up with fragrance. Its water-based formula contains way less alcohol than the competition. They use enough for a quick dry, and that's it, which is why in clinical trials, 0 participants experienced any burning or irritation. The canister is designed for effortless 360-degree application, meaning you can turn it upside down to spray those hard-to-reach spots below the belt. Ready for a deo upgrade? Special offer. New customers get $5 off Lumi Starter Pack with code RATCHET15 at LumiDeodorant.com. Now, I've been using Lumi forever, and I love it. They've got an array of scents. There's clean tangerine, lavender sage, and toasted coconut. I like to switch them up depending on my mood. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. Use code RATCHET15 for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code RATCHET15 at LumiDeodorant.com. I don't know why Janet would say that out of her mouth. And I'm like, how are you this misinformed? Like, I know you're a celebrity. I know you've been a celebrity your whole life. You've been pop royalty, been a pop icon. You have hundreds of millions of dollars. You be on tour all the time. But like, I promise you, London is not a third world country. They have TVs and ample internet there. They might be smaller than ours. They don't really do the big excessive shit we do over here. But like, they have TVs, they have news, they have internet, and they cover American politics pretty extensively. I was living there last year for 3 months. Like, they have access to world news. The BBC, worldwide, they're recognized for the quality of their news. BBC is based in London, where Janet is living. I know you've been on tour and whatnot, sis, but if you know enough to know who Kamala Harris is, you know enough to know she's Indian. I don't know how you didn't know, even if you were one of those people who are like, oh, he's not black because he's Jamaican, because you confused on ethnicity, nationality, and race. Like, even if you're one of those, I don't know, where did you hear that her father was white? Even Trump was like, she's Indian. Nobody's ever said her father was white. That's you jumping in a bag or out of a bag. I'm not really sure which one. I saw people that were like, well, you know, Randy's her manager. And, you know, Randy is on some heavy Trump shit. And I was like, is he? They were like, go to Randy's page. I went there this morning. He only has 21 posts. I think he may have scrubbed his page, or his people scrubbed his page. I'm not really sure all what's happening going on over there. You know, Tito had passed maybe last week or the week before. So the family is in grief. Also, I think it's notable, this interview took place 2 weeks before Tito passed away. So you can't be like, oh, she's grieving and she's sick. You know, she's not in her right mind. She's on Theraflu and death. And no, she was all right. And Tito was still alive. You can't justify this. I want to justify it because I like Janet. I don't like seeing her drag this way. But no. The interviewer editorializes after she, you know, doubles down that the father is white, the interviewer writes, "I'm floored at this point. It's well known that Harris's father is a Jamaican economist, a Stanford professor who split from her Indian mother when Kamala Harris was 5." The interviewer notes the people who are most vocal in questioning the facts of Harris's identity tend to be hardcore QAnon adjacent Trump loving conspiracy theories. I don't think Jackson falls into that camp, but I do wonder what the algorithms are serving her. I start again. Harris has dual heritage, I say. And given this moment, does Jackson think America is ready for her if we agree she's Black or, okay, a woman of color? This is when some PR training finally returns to her. Jackson, in a stage whisper, the interviewer notes, says, "I don't know. Honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really truthfully don't know. I think either way, there's going to be mayhem." I was like, ma'am, you should have led with the "I don't know." The Will Packer, I'm not very informed on that, so I don't want to have an opinion on that just now. Great answer. Great answer. I don't know why she did this. I don't know why she did this. So here's where, the story gets even more bizarre. So Janet does this interview. The Guardian releases it 2 weeks later. There's a huge blow up. Like, how could Janet Jackson be this goddamn dumb? Rather quickly, a manager for Janet Jackson releases a statement in which Janet Jackson apologizes. I saw the statement. It was a little wordy, but it said all the things that needed to be said. This is the apology that came from the quote unquote manager. It says, Janet Jackson would like to clarify her recent comments. She recognizes that her statements regarding Vice President Kamala Harris's racial identity were based on misinformation. Janet respects Harris's dual heritage as both Black and Indian and apologizes for any confusion caused. She values the diversity Harris represents and understands the importance of celebrating that in today's society. Janet remains committed to promoting unity and understanding. It's a decent apology. A bit wordy, like I said, but a decent apology. It had quelled some of the folks who were super pissed off at Janet. The apology came swiftly. It took accountability. And primarily, Janet is about unity and understanding. Translation, Janet don't want this smoke. The anger at Janet was dying down some. And then her publicists circle back and are like, hey, we're actually the reps for Janet. The person who released that apology was unauthorized to do so. Later, that person does an interview and was like, yeah, I got fired over that. The publicists were like, yeah, so that person spoke for Janet and they were not authorized to do so. And just for clarity, Janet hasn't apologized. What? So your client steps in shit. The manager or non-manager, whoever this was, gets your client out of the shit. And then you come back and clarify, no, we want to stay in the shit. It's fine. Leave it as is. What? Janet Jackson is big enough that she can, take this kind of media hit. She's been through worse. It's not the end of the world. Like, people aren't going to cancel Janet Jackson. And then I'm also like, so wait, do you still believe the father is white? Has no one showed you a picture of Kamala Harris's daddy? Like, since all this blew up? No? And you're just going to double down on him being white based on, you heard some people had said, huh? Okay, girl. Somebody's trying to help her out, though. I don't know if it's her team. It might be Eve's team. Eve has a new book out. I haven't read it yet. I need to download it on Audible. I got this 15-hour plane ride. I've also downloaded whatever the most recent season is of Emily in Paris. I'm going to watch the whole thing on the plane and then maybe listen to a whole audiobook. I still haven't finished. Remember I told you I was reading Shawnee. I can't remember her new last name, so I don't want to call it, but Shawnee, like Basketball Wives Shawnee. I'm listening to her book as well. Maybe I need to listen to Eve's book too. But Eve has a new book out, rapper Eve. Her book is called Who's That Girl? Oh, they got a 49-page preview if you want to check it out. I'm just going to go read it. I trust Eve. But she talks about many things in her book. I haven't been following the interviews, but I saw earlier today, somebody had pulled an excerpt from Eve's book where she talks about going to a party. I don't think she said it was a Diddy party. Everyone's just assuming it was a Diddy party. But she says she was drugged at the party. She put her drink down. She came back. She was drugged. Missy found her and realized she was out of it. Janet appears, immediately recognizes what's going on and was like, yeah, we need some. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull up these details. I'm reading this on, is this on X? Female Rap Room has an excerpt from the book, just a paragraph. It says, Eve revealed she was drugged at a 2007 VMA after party after leaving her drink unattended. She says, Missy came to check on me, but I was just unable to collect myself. Then, who walks in? Janet Jackson. I had never met her before, and so her first introduction to me was seeing me hysterical. None of that mattered to Janet. She actually just sprang into action and told people to get aspirin, water, hot sauce, and a piece of white bread. That concoction knocked me right out of my hysteria. So basically, Janet Jackson saved my life. Somebody who really likes Janet a whole lot is giving her a win here because her publicist ain't doing it. Janet saved Eve's life. Good for Janet. Good for Eve. Shit. We've all hit a point where we realized it was time to make serious money moves. Take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Learn more at chime.com/ratchet. I love Chime. Everyone makes mistakes, and Chime helps you make progress with fee-free overdraft up to $200. Your next deposit is applied to your balance. You can also get spotted on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. Make your fall finances a little greener by working toward your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/ratchet. That's chime.com/ratchet. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank North America or Stride Bank North America, members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in SpotMe and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. What else do we have on this list? We have an update on the 69 God. Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, who is running for governor. I didn't check this morning. Is he still in the race? His whole staff quit. I shouldn't say the whole staff. 8 people quit. I think there are 3 left. It says, I'm reading this on CBS News. The headline is North Carolina GOP nominee for governor Mark Robinson loses staff, ad buys, after report of racist comments. Not the porn comments, only the racist comments. They said both the loss of staff and the loss of ad buys are, quote, brutal blows for a campaign that was struggling in the polls before the CNN investigation upended it. Of his departed staff, Robinson said, quote, I appreciate the efforts of these team members who have made the difficult choice to step away from the campaign, and I wish them well in their future endeavors. Sir, you will have no future endeavors. You're done. In politics, at least. Could always lay low for a couple years and then come to D.C., start a podcast or some shit. We've seen people with crazier histories pop up in the city. Trust me, I saw some out at CBC, and I was like, oh, there's an old friend. He walked up to me, said hello. I hadn't seen him in 14 years. I said, what are you doing here? We had a little catch. He said, if these people knew who I really am, they would kick me out, wouldn't they? And I was like, DC is a place for reinvention. Then he says to me, which I was like, I'm still rolling this around. And he was like, you would know. I said, what does that mean? And he was, just you've reinvented a whole bunch of times. Like, from when I met you to like who you are now. He was like, there's been a lot of different versions. And I was like, is that like a reinvention or is that growth? He didn't answer. He said it was good to see me and walked away. Tell me if I'm wrong. My guy friends were like, you're not shit. They're trying to get me to be nicer to someone's son so that we can take vacations next year. Not just my guy friends, but like my whole friend circle. A bunch of people are booed up and they were like, can you not try to be nice? And I was like, I'll try. I will try to be nice. So ran into old boy and actually had like, fun. I thought more about it and I was like, oh yeah, I remember why this whole thing fell apart. Like, you offered to pay all of my bills in exchange for me being part of your harem. But before that, he was actually quite likable. So I run into him as I'm leaving the event. He's speaking with someone and he says, D, I want you to meet somebody. And he introduces me to the person or whatever. He gives me a look like, see, like I still got you. I said, do you still have my number? And he was like, I don't. He starts reaching for his phone. And I was like, no, it's the same number. I haven't changed it. And I was like, go ahead and call. I'll unblock you now. I laughed. I thought the shit was funny. He chuckled because he knows me. He knows my sense of humor. So people were asking like, yo, who was that guy? Because he looked nice. He looks like your type. I was like, no. And they were like, why? And so I tell them like the unblocked story. And they were like, Dimitri, this is not what we talked about. You're supposed to be nice. And I was like, I'm supposed to be trying to be nice. There's a difference. It's a difference. Tried. May not have succeeded, but I tried. What else do we have on our list? Oh, Michael Eric Dyson. I was asked by several friends in the city to tread lightly on the Michael Eric Dyson story. His wife, his third wife, because he was online ranting, he trying to defend himself from his latest scandal. And he said, like, I've had 3 wives. And I was like, sir, this is not helping your argument. But his current wife, he's been married to for about 22 years. And she is a lovely woman. She's a beloved figure in DC. She is a mentor to many of my friends. You know how I am about Bevy? They're like that about his wife. I mean, intentionally not saying her name. She didn't do the dumb shit that her husband had to end up on The View this morning to clarify, which I was like, who is advising you? But publicists, out of respect for her, because it ain't for him. Because, like, nigga, I also want to add this too. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. I don't know what's going on with Michael Eric Dyson. Like, what he did is so flagrant. It made me wonder, are you still married? Because this would make you extra trifling. I went on his wife's page. There's no recent photos of him. And she hasn't worn her ring since sometime in February. That don't really mean much. They've been married 20 some odd years. Sometimes folks wear rings, sometimes they don't. Like, that's not the part that makes you married. So let me just say that. What really got me, which made me like raise an eyebrow, is somewhere around like April or May, she started looking like fresh and like good. Like her skin looked good, her hair looked fluffy, her eyes looked bright, like her clothes just looked, like maybe the stylist was involved. Like just everything just looked pulled together. Like she's always a nice looking lady. She always looked good when she left the house, but she looked like great. When married women just suddenly have like a poof, like a growth, a glow up, I've noticed that it's either because either came into a good sum of money and they went and got fixed all the things that they thought they needed to fix, or they left a nigga that was holding them back. It's only those 2 things. So maybe she came into some money. Maybe it's something else. But the lady suddenly looks real, real good. You know who else is going through that right now? Layla Rashawn. She's beautiful. Sunshine. She's been beautiful her whole life at every size. She's not the size that, I don't know, 50-something, 60-something, however old she is. She's not the size now that she was in her 20s. Neither are you, neither am I. Full stop. All of a sudden, like in the last 6 months, I don't know if she's working out. I don't know if she's on Ozempic. I don't care. All of a sudden, she just looks real, real good. The hair is right. The face is right. The clothes are right. The energy is right. That's the biggest part of it. Like the energy shift. Like she just looks lighter, brighter, like carefree. And I was like, oh, she about to file for divorce on that nigga. You remember a few years ago, her husband was in a scandal. We don't need to go into the details of it. It happened. It was many years ago. They came to an agreement. They stayed together. But I was like, oh no, she looked like she on her way out the door. She's in that circle of friends with Judge Mathis' wife, who went ahead and filed for divorce. We haven't heard anything about them. I want her to do what's best for her. If Judge Mathis would act right, that would be helpful. But, But back to Michael Eric Dyson. Michael Eric Dyson was on think it was MSNBC. If I recall, it was Abby's show. And it was a panel of folks and talking about politics. One of them was Keith Boykin, who is one of the greatest writers alive. I love him. I haven't read anything he's written in a while, but he's an amazing, amazing writer. And then Michael Eric Dyson was the other Black person on the panel. And it's Abby's show, so there's 3 Black people. And then there's a white woman on the panel. She's a Republican. She is a congresswoman. She is, let's pull up her name. This is so sad. Michael Eric Dyson has a whole new book coming out, and everybody's talking about him hitting on this white lady. Nancy Mace. Where's Nancy Mace representing? U.S. representative from South Carolina. She's a nice looking lady, easy on the eye, very shapely, curvy. Usually not something I would note, but I think it's worth noting in this situation. So she's on the panel, and I don't even remember what they were discussing. It has to do with the vice president. And she keeps calling her Kamala. And both Keith Boykin and Michael Eric Dyson interrupt her and say, you're mispronouncing her name. She's a sitting vice president of the United States. You know what the lady name is. Like, you're being an asshole. So she does it a second time, and Michael Eric Dyson chastises her and says, you're mispronouncing her name. And the woman responds, like, very caring. And she was like, I can call her whatever I want. To which Michael Eric Dyson responds something like, you're practicing some form of white supremacy. You know, he got away with words. He's a very smart man. He's a very eloquent speaker. And he pulls from many sources when he writes. Like, he can give you academic, he can give you history, but he can also give you Biggie, Tupac, Nas, and Jay-Z. He rolls it all into one when he speaks. Like, he's a brilliant mind. But he corrects her, and she responds back, and she says, are you calling me a racist? And he says, no, I'm not calling you a racist, but then clarifies that, like, what she's doing is a function of white supremacy, where you think you could just call Black people any old thing that you want to, because it's a superiority thing. So they have a little back and forth. All this is aired, right? After the segment, they're either in the green room or backstage in the studio, and her version of events is Michael Eric Dyson asked if they can take a picture together. She says he begged me. Maybe, maybe not. I think she's crazy, but I also think he's horny. So I don't really know, like, who to believe here. But some folks were like, well, why would they even take a picture? If he's, like, chastising her, if she's disrespectful to Kamala Harris, like, why would he even want to take a picture with her? Being on TV, even when you're talking about politics and very serious things, it's entertainment and performance. To a degree. You mean everything exactly as you say. Like, you're not changing your views, but there's a bit of performance to it. The way that I speak when I do this podcast is actually not the way I speak in my regular life. Like, sometimes people will meet me and be like, I didn't know she was that quiet. And I was like, yeah, I don't just sit around ranting all my opinions to my friends or even strangers. Like, I have conversations with them. Like, I tell stories with them, but I'm not just like ranting for 45 minutes. Like, there's a time and a place for it. But just because you have a conflict with somebody on a show doesn't mean that in real life you have a conflict with them. He may have disagreed with what she said, but they also may have had banter about some other things. And so you think the person's like, cool enough. You want to take a picture. Or you just want to take a picture to mark the moment so you can post it on social media. So you have a picture to go with whatever caption you want to do. Or once you start on the speaker circuit, whether it's on TV, whether it's like actual live events, things like that, you start seeing the same people over and over and over and over. You kind of become, I wouldn't say friends, but colleagues, if you will. Okay. So he asked the woman, or he begs the woman, depending on whose perspective you believe, if they could take a picture. She agreed. I've seen the picture. He all up on her. Like, there's no room for Jesus between them. Like, he's got his arms like firmly wrapped around her waist, but he's got her pretty like smashed into him. I don't know if the picture is on his phone, somebody else takes the picture. Seemingly she doesn't have a copy of it. At some point, he sends her a copy of the photo, DMs, because I think the slide in DMs like kind of matters. He DMs her a copy of the photo, and then he says, we look good together. Let me pull it up, because some things I can paraphrase and it's okay. Other things I need to be specific about. He says, shh, don't tell anybody. We look good together. And then a tilted laughing face with tears coming out. And then a kissy emoji with the heart. So a guy that I used to date, him, as a matter of fact, like day to day, and we're sending texts back and forth, everything's fine. He would send me a kissy emoji and it would have the heart with the kisses, right? But then sometimes we'd argue and he wasn't too happy with me. So he would still send me a kissy face. He would send me the one without the heart in it. And that's how I knew he was upset about something. Petty ass. He sends her that, the tilted laughing face with the tears, and then the kissy emoji with the heart. Shh, don't tell anybody. We look good together. He also sends her several versions of the photo. Screenshot says 5 photos saved. She clicks a response to laugh in return, and then she also types out ha 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 ha, laughing. And then he clicks like ha ha as a response. And then he follows up again. He says, well, your gorgeousness makes the photos. So there's that.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Being a part of the royal family might seem enticing, but more often than not, it comes at the expense of everything else, like your freedom, your privacy, and sometimes even your head. Even the Royals is a podcast from Wondery that pulls back the curtain on royal families, past and present from all over the world, to show you the darker side of what it means to be royalty. Like the true stories behind the 6 wives of Henry VIII, whose lives were so much more than divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Or Esther of Burundi, a princess who fled her home country to become France's first Black supermodel. To Queen Christina of Sweden, an icon who traded in dresses for pants, had an affair with her lady-in-waiting, and eventually gave up her crown because she refused to get married. Throw in her involvement in a murder and an attempt to become Queen of Poland, and you have one of the most unforgettable legacies in royal history. Instead of settling for a predictable royal life, these women blew theirs up in the name of freedom and embracing their true selves. Follow Even the Royals on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge Even the Royals ad-free right now on Wondery Plus. The reason that we know about this DM is because old girl Nancy, it's a congresswoman. They're in, I don't know, what is it called? A session. Is that the right word? And she says, Michael Eric Dyson hit on me and I want to enter it into the congressional record. And then she holds up a photo of the pictures that he sent her, as well as the text that I just read to you. Michael Eric Dyson pretty immediately responds, denying that he was flirting with the woman. I was like, sir, we got screenshots. Like, we could see the picture, and then we could see you hit up a very beautiful woman and said, shh, don't tell anybody. We look good together. Married man, married man, married man. What you doing? Then follows up with the kissy face with the heart. And then follows up, well, your gorgeousness makes the photo. You totally trying to holler. You shooting your shot, sir. Why are you doing this in print with a member of Congress? A woman who's so petty that she would sit on a televised panel and intentionally mispronounce Kamala Harris's name. Why? Why would you do that? The lady has shown you that she's petty. Her reasoning for posting this is something like the mispronunciation of Kamala Harris's name. And she was like, oh, Michael Eric Dyson, he didn't care as much as he pretended he did. She also says, he tried to call me racist. He specifically didn't try to call the lady racist. He's in the video. He specifically says, I'm not calling you racist. But her version of events now, though, is, well, he called me racist, but he really doesn't care about this issue the way he says he does, because if he did, he wouldn't be trying to flirt with me in my DMs. She called him text, but she meant DMs. Which, he's clearly flirting with her. Clearly. He's trying to deny it all over the internet, which brings me to the next part, which, like, publicists, people, publicists, get the best your money can buy. It is worth it. Michael Eric Dyson tries to defend himself. He posts this video. I don't know if it was on TikTok or Instagram. He did that, and then he went on The View. And I was like, sir, married sir, Are they still married? I mean, married, yes, like ain't nobody filed, but are they like old black people married? Where like they don't believe in divorce? I don't know. Where's this page? Michael Eric Dyson responds. Maybe it's on TikTok. I have a TikTok account, which I never post to. It's under my name, but I really have it just so I can watch videos. Okay, it's a 7-minute. It's a 7-minute and 44-second response to this woman accusing him of flirting. Hold on. I didn't take notes on this. Let me watch it real quick. Okay. 7 minutes and 44 seconds. So some clarifications. Michael Eric Dyson says Abby, the host, our Abby, we love Abby here. Abby is the one who suggested that everyone take pics. Dyson says the only reason he reached out to the woman is because they are on opposite sides of thought. And he said that just because they don't think the same, it doesn't mean they have to be hostile to one another. He says he only reached out to her because he was trying to be nice, kind, and gracious. He clarifies in this 7-minute video at least 4 times that he was not hitting on this woman. He said that when they had the initial text exchange, that she actually hearted his compliment when he called her gorgeous. And then he noticed a couple days later that she took the heart away. And he says that's because she was plotting to call him out. He goes forward to read 7 or so texts or comments that he's left to other women on the internet, other public figures on the internet, who he has complimented them, and he has used the word gorgeous, and he may have left a heart or a kissy face when complimenting the women. One of the women was Susan Taylor. He reads texts of when he's called these other women gorgeous. And I'm sorry, I want to be on the side of the black man. I deeply respect Michael Eric Dyson's brain. I think he is a brilliant man. But the way that he uses gorgeous in response to these other women, in the context that he uses it with these other women, is much different when you are DMing someone, when you are talking about a photo where you're like pushed up on them with your hand like wrapped around their waist and don't tell anybody. Oh, that's important to say too. He said the reason he said shush, don't tell anybody is because, again, from what I said at the beginning, because he's like, oh, we're on opposite sides. Like people think that we should be like bitter, we should be in battle with one another. But like actually, like, you know, we're cool and we look great together. He says it was very harmless. I'm like, you've been a man a really long time. You got at least 3 wives. Like you know a little something about male and female dynamics, or you should. But it seems like you don't, or you're pretending at least like you don't. I don't think it's pretend. It's giving very gaslighty to me. And I don't like this woman. I don't want to defend this woman. Despite what Dyson initially said on the show when he was like, I'm not calling you a racist. Like, I actually think she's very much being racist and intentionally mispronouncing Kamala Harris's name. And childish. And childish on top of that. I don't want to defend this woman. But the part when she was like, oh, he was trying to holler at me, to me, it seems like he was trying to holler at her. Dyson goes on to say, again, I wasn't hitting on her. He says that she's trying to exploit a situation. He says, all 3 of my wives have been black and additionally have been at least 7 years older than him. He likes black women who are older than him. He doesn't go for young white chicks. If you say so, sir. Also, I think it's worth noting, he is so riled up about this that he's literally turning red in the face. He continues, he says that he's changed his mind. He does now think that Nancy is racist and bigoted. He refers to a time when she referred to him and Keith Boykin, who we mentioned was also on the panel. She called him and Dyson boys. Keith is at least 50. That's a grown-ass man. Dyson, obviously, he's a gray-haired grown-ass man. It took you this long to figure out she was a racist? If she didn't have big titties, would you have figured it out sooner? Still going on. It's 7 minutes and 44 seconds of this. He continues. He says that she is desperate for a black man to holler at her, but he is not the one. He says that she was vicious, misleading, lying. I'm using all these adjectives. He speaks I have no documentation of this. I think he uses more words per minute than the average person. So me trying to like type as he's talking and already it's 7 minutes and 44 seconds, I can't keep up. I just typed out the memorable adjectives that he used, but vicious, misleading, lying. He repeats again, my mistake was being gracious to her, even though we are on opposite sides. He's repeated that several times. And then he goes on again to say that the woman is a vicious white supremacist and she is a sick soul. I could have told you that from her mispronouncing Kamala's name. You was distracted by them D's, sir. Things happen. People get distracted. It happens. But like, I would appreciate it a lot more if you just, owned it and was like, I had a oopsie, as opposed to like trying to gaslight us to be like, that wasn't what it was. And it's coming across. I don't know your intent. I know what you said your intent was. I don't know your heart. I know the other articles that are floating around about you and women, young women at that. This is not a gossip podcast. We talk about crazy, scandalous shit sometimes, but like we talk about stuff that's published in like the New York Times and the Washington Post and Rolling Stone and lawsuits, court documents. But I don't have a desire to talk about, like Janet. They said, I heard, ma'am, if you don't get some documentation in your life, I don't want to be that person. If the Washington Post ever wants to write a story, I'll read what's in the Post. Read between all the lines of that, and then also Google Michael Eric Dyson in Georgetown. It's fair. It's fair game. I'm playing nice by not reading the Georgetown article.
Today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. Like I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor, you can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those like lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
Michael Eric Dyson also, this is what I was saying earlier, he went on The View this morning. He was on to talk about his new book, but the first question they asked him, they were like, well, hey, you've been in the news, and, do you want to clarify, what went on? And he said more or less some of the same things that we discussed in his TikTok video. Denies he wasn't hitting on the woman. She's accusing him of calling her racist. He didn't do such a thing, but absolutely not. He was not hitting on this woman. I was not hitting on this woman. I was not hitting on this woman. It's very Clinton-esque in that way. I did not have sex with that woman. Sir, she sucked a dick. Like, semantics. I'm trying to keep it relatively clean this episode. It's very difficult for me. Ratchet and respectable. You knew what it was when you click play. I mean, lately it's been more ratchet than respectable. We've been more respectable than ratchet this episode. We've been doing good. Do I want to rewatch this View thing? I do remember watching it, and just midway through, I was like, he's so full of shit. He's a very prolific speaker. His language, his rhetoric, his ethos, pathos, logos, it all like comes together really beautiful. His knowledge base, it sounds amazing. But if you actually like listen to him, and I'm not saying about everything, you're using your intellect and skill, I mean, as you should, to try to talk your way out of this situation because you're probably a little embarrassed by it. But I was like, for people really paying attention, I'm like, they ain't really saying much of nothing on this, sir. Let's get into this View interview because literally the first question is about all of this hullabaloo, for lack of a better word. They ask him to clarify, exactly like what is going on. And he says, I am a preacher. I don't know how I forgot he was a preacher. I think of him as an academic, but he says, I am a preacher. People make mistakes. He says that several times. He says times have changed and what it's appropriate to say to someone and what's not appropriate. And he says where we are now is a culture, we know that it's inappropriate. Like if there was a power imbalance between him and Nancy Mace, then it would have been inappropriate for him to compliment her the way that he did. But because they're on equal standing, it should have been fine. He also goes on to say that he lied about her being wonderful. The initial exchange from the show where he corrects her for mispronouncing Kamala Harris's name when she says, oh, you're saying I'm a racist. Says, no, I'm not saying that. He was like, I think you're wonderful, but you're misunderstanding or you're not well informed about what you're actually doing and how wrong it is. So he goes here. He says, I lied about her being wonderful. I was like, sir, it's giving real like, you know how you walk down the street and guys try to holler at you and you don't respond and they be like, well, fuck you then anyway. It's giving high class, well, fuck you then anyway. He says that what the woman is doing now is she's engaging in this racist trope. She's trying to paint them as this black brute who's approaching her. And then she's playing the role of like the white damsel. I was like, is there an interview that I'm missing? Because I didn't get that at all from what she was saying. And I'm attuned to stuff like that. And even after he said it, like I'm thinking back and I'm like, no, she said you tried to hit on her. She didn't say that you were like aggressive or, it made her feel uncomfortable. She used it as a justification to be like, well, he acted like I was a horrible person for mispronouncing the name. He tried to correct me. But then it really didn't matter that much because he turned around and hit on me. It didn't make me less attractive or him less interested. I didn't get black brute from that. I think she was just kind of appalled that, like, he hit on her. I didn't pick up on her playing into either one of those stereotypes. Dyson goes on. He quotes scripture. He said the real issue that Christians like Nancy Mace have is that they hate themselves because of all the atrocities that white folks have done, and they haven't forgiven themselves. And he says that he doesn't have that problem because he is a loving Christian. He goes on to say, I am a human being. He says, have I made mistakes? He clarifies that he has. He says, have I said the wrong thing? He clarifies absolutely. And then he repeats, I am a child of God. Sir, you doing all this instead of just saying my bad? Sir. He does drop this last line, which I think is great. I'm also like, you doing the most over a couple DMs. It's not like you sent the lady a dick pic. You tried to holler, she wasn't interested, and then, embarrassed you on the congressional record. I'm sure your wife or leave it alone, D. It's embarrassing. I get it, but you're doing a lot. But instead of just saying my bad, but he ends or at least this portion of it. He says, I don't have to be perfect to be useful. I don't have to be unflawed to shine bright. True. I'm going to write this quote down and I'm going to put it on my quote wall. I'm not as bad as being Mary Jane, but I do have a little section of Post-its that I have really great quotes that I find inspiration from. I'm going to repeat it. I don't have to be perfect to be useful. I don't have to be unflawed to shine bright. True. 100%. But really all of this just to avoid my bad? Nigga. I believe there's grace for those that seek it. I don't think this is the worst transgression ever. I'm not married to the man. I'm just saying, like, you did all this. 7 minutes and 44 seconds of a rant on TikTok and then went on The View to talk about your book and had to open with this instead of just saying, I fucked up. We could have ended this conversation 2.5 business days ago, sir. Like, that's the episode for today. I was going to talk about Lil Wayne. I talked about on a previous episode how Kendrick was selected for the Super Bowl, but everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, people from New Orleans, and not even all of them, are talking about how Lil Wayne should have been a performer because the Super Bowl is in New Orleans. And I was like, what one thing got to do with the other? I was like, what does this have to do with the price of a BBL in Colombia? Whatever. So Nicki had responded, Birdman had responded, Wayne had not said anything. And I was like, does he even care? Somebody pointed out that Wayne had said that he wanted to do the Super Bowl when it was in New Orleans. So yes, he did care. Wayne puts up a video. Now I guess we are talking about it. Wayne puts up this video and he says that not being selected broke him. He was feeling real down. He had to get himself together before he could address the fans. And I'm watching this video and I was like, did someone promise him the Super Bowl at some point? It's giving very entitled to me. But I did actually feel kind of bad for him because he looked, be your best self, Demetria, be your best self. He looked real down bad in the video. And I had like a little moment where I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad for him. Not that I want him to perform instead of Kendrick, but I was like, oh, I feel bad for him. Like, maybe I was a little insensitive. I wasn't sensitive. Maybe I, should have been kinder in the way that I spoke about him. Maybe I should have shown a little more compassion because, he's a real person and this has affected him deeply. I feel bad. I don't know where I watched the video. Maybe it was on B. Scott. But I went down in the comments, which I really got to stop doing. I went in the comments on Baller Alert the other day. Huge mistake. People are dumb as fuck in this world. But I went in the comments on B. Scott's page. And people were like, yeah, cry me a river. Isn't this nigga a Trump supporter? And I was like, oh, yeah. I took all my sympathy back, every drip drop. I was like, go perform at Trump rallies. I hear they're bigly, the biggest, the biggest ever. He got a stage. He got a platform. He'd be happy to have you. He can't get no other decent celebrities to show up. Go perform at a Trump rally. I heard Chingy was going to perform at a Trump rally. And I was like, bruh. I was like, you're not good. I think he pulled out, though. People clowned him so bad, he decided to pull out and not perform. And I was like, clearly that man needs the money. Oh, one more thing, because several people asked me about this. My stylist actually texted me this morning. And she was like, are you going to talk about Kim, the Kim book? And I was like, it's not a real book. No. Someone has put out a book saying it's like the lost memoirs of Kim Porter. They slapped a bad cover on it. It's poorly formatted by people I know who've seen it. They say it's poorly formatted. It's poorly edited. They're selling it on, I think, Amazon, and people are reading it. I'll Be Sure wrote a post the other day. It said a whole lot of things, but one of them was, she ain't write that book, and the things that are in there about me are 100% not true. Like, this is nonsense. But the guy who published the book said that he got it on a hard drive. He doesn't say who he got it from. He just says he just says he got it. And so he decided to publish it. He has no affiliation with Kim Porter or her circle or anything like that. And I was like, yo, y'all are being scammed. Like, I love a good scandal as much as anyone else. I love some juicy, salacious moments as much as anyone else. But I do believe folks are being okie doke and this man is making a quick buck. So I'm not going to talk about the book until it's verified, which it won't be. We don't trifle and gossip here. We read the news. So, yeah. There's actually good Black news, but we're running a bit over this week. I know y'all like longer episodes, but I got to edit them. So that's the episode for this week. We'll be back on Friday. All right. Talk soon. I'll still be here. Bye.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. And one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. Like, I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor. You can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those like lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. When you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Roof repair? Done well. Kitchen sink install? Done well. Deck upgrades? Done well. Electrical upgrade? Done well. Angie's been connecting homeowners with skilled pros for nearly 30 years, so we know the difference between done and done well. Hire high-quality, certified pros at Angie.com.